Good day, gamers. What's going on? The name is AK, owner of eXtremeAzure Productions, and today I'm bringing you yet another X-React video presentation. And this video today is definitely going to be a very big one. But first off, I'd like to apologize for my lack of video uploads. I haven't uploaded a video in almost a month, and yeah, life has just been really busy. But anyway, let's waste no time, get right into the video. Perfect timing that I finally could sit down and do a video, simply because this is a very big rumor, like I said. And I said in the past how much I hate reporting on NX rumors, which the majority of them just turning out to be nothing but garbage. But this one may very well hold some water to it, and the primary reason behind that is because the reporter has a very nice history behind her. Her name is Miss Emily Rogers, and she was actually the one who leaked Paper Mario Color Splash weeks before Nintendo officially announced it during their last Nintendo Direct. I work for Nintendo Enthusiast, and our editor-in-chief, Mr. Sean Long, he has his own YouTube channel. He and her are very good friends, so any rumor that she reports, we always post that, because we avoid most of the NX rumors simply because their sources cannot be completely verified, but she definitely checks out. So this rumor, of course, it's still going to remain a rumor because it's not coming from Nintendo themselves, but this rumor coming from Miss Emily Rogers may very well end up being true, so don't be surprised if it's true, because like I said, she has proven herself to be very trustworthy. Okay, so introduction complete. Let's get on to the details. So as you're reading in the title of this video, the NX, according to Mr. Rogers, is going to have the highest output of first-party titles in Nintendo's history. Now this is a massive statement, pretty much because Nintendo has been making consoles for the past 30 years. Okay, 30 years. Remember, just last year was Super Mario's 30th anniversary. This year is going to be the 30th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda. So yeah, a lot of Nintendo's IPs were birthed within the last 30 years. That's major, okay? So considering that Nintendo has been making games for 3 decades now, for Mr. Rogers to say that the NX is going to have the highest output of first-party games in the company's whole history, that's a very big deal. And what makes it so important, such a big deal, is because, especially with their home systems, for the past 2 decades, Nintendo has been struggling to get third-party support on their home systems. So they have been the main source of support for their own platforms. So Nintendo's been making exclusive titles for their home systems, which in turn attract people to buy those systems, so that money just keeps coming back to them. That's the main reason why they've been able to stay in the console business for such a long time, despite the fact that they don't have the support from other big developers like EA, Activision, Ubisoft, among so many others. So yeah, so for Miss Rogers to now come out and say that Nintendo is now going to produce an even greater amount of titles for the NX, that is huge. She claims that the NX software output is going to blow away what we saw on Wii U. Within a year, it's going to have a larger library of games the Wii U has produced in the past 3 to 4 years. Very big statement coming from her. Wow. She also mentions that even with that, there's still the possibility that there's going to be gaps between releases. She also states that Nintendo may save game announcements for different events, like how they do the Nintendo Directs. So don't expect to see the full slate of games to be revealed by E3 or by the system's launch, whenever that is. So here's the full rundown of the information that from her report. It says that the big fundamental focal point and overall goal behind NX is to vastly increase the software output from Nintendo's first-party teams and studios. To accomplish this, the entire process of how Nintendo develops and produces software has gone through radical changes. I'm going to get back to that a little later. Continuing, there is a new strategy that was put in place to create and release first-party software at a faster rate. Multiple unannounced Wii U projects moved over to the NX. Very interesting. I'm going to get back to that. And finally, the NX could potentially see the highest output of first-party software in the company's history. And here's her words. I'm talking about the entire lifespan of the NX, not just 1 or 2 years. So yeah, all of this is basically saying the NX is going to see a crap ton of games coming from Nintendo's various studios, their internal teams, and their other studios like Retro and Monolith, who've developed Donkey Kong and Xenoblade respectively. So yeah, this is major news. One of the biggest complaints that people have about Nintendo's home systems, especially the Wii U, was, yes, the games are amazing, they're very well polished, the best in the industry, but they take so long to come out, and that has been very, very true for the Wii U. And the thing about Wii U is that it's not completely Nintendo's fault. Now, Nintendo likes to be perfectionist with almost all of their games. The problem with Wii U is that in the absence of third-party companies, once again, it was just Nintendo, and if you want to count the indie releases as well, it's just Nintendo and indie studios who have been mainly supporting the system for the past 3 years, because it's been out for a little over 3 years now. The thing is with Nintendo is that not only are they perfectionists, trying to polish their games to the absolute nth degree, but this was Nintendo's first high-definition system, and making a high-definition game versus making a standard-definition game, which is what they've been doing for eons, is completely different. They admitted, I think it was about a year ago or a year or two ago, that their teams underestimated the work that was required to make a high-definition game. So this means increased development time. This meant that they had to do a whole lot more debugging. They were just trying to learn the system. They didn't just have to learn the Wii U, but they also had to learn about HD game development. So that's exactly why a lot of the Wii U's titles, a lot of the Wii U's biggest titles, did not come until well after the system had already been released, simply because the teams were not ready. You know, they were trying to wrap their head around the system, and they were trying to wrap their head around HD development in general. It doesn't surprise me about what Ms. Rogers is saying about how they've reformatted the way that they make games in order to ensure that there's going to be faster development times. So, because by now they have a much better idea of how to make HD games, so I think it's only natural that they'll be able to pump them out a whole lot faster. Now, the thing she said about how multiple unannounced Wii U projects were moved over to the NX, that's a bit worrying, because this kind of explains why we haven't seen a whole lot of Wii U games coming from Nintendo, because 2014 was a very good year for the Wii U. That's when the Wii U really started to take off. It started to take off towards the end of 2013, but it really started to take off in 2014. That continued on into 2015. But by the time we got into 2016, you could see that the release calendar just really started to show a whole lot of holes. Okay, we just got big releases like Pokken, Twilight Princess HD, which launched just a few weeks between each other, and then we'll be getting Star Fox Zero's releasing this week as well. So yeah, we just got 3 big games fairly close to each other, and that's good. So I guess I'm hoping that this is exactly how the NX is going to be, where we'd see, like, for instance, we'd see Zelda release in May, and then you're gonna see Mario release in like June, and then you'll see Kirby in July, Yoshi in August. You know, you'd get a game regularly. That's hopefully how this is going to be, instead of where you get Mario in January, then you have to wait till April to get Star Fox, then you have to wait until July to get Zelda, or something like that. The point is, there won't be that big gaps that we've seen with the Wii U, because while the software has definitely been there, you're just so few and far between. That's why the system has never been able to really get a big boost in sales, simply because, yes, the games were there, really nice games, but they were just so few and far in between each other. That's been one of the major problems that's plagued the Wii U. Like I said, it's not totally Nintendo's fault, but it's definitely been an issue. And yeah, it's good news that they've made the changes necessary in order to make sure that the next system is going to hopefully have much more games coming at a much faster rate. Now, the fact that she said that multiple unannounced Wii U projects were moved over to the NX, definitely a bit worrying, but at the same time it also makes sense because the system wasn't selling all too well. I'm sure after releasing Mario Kart 8, Super Smash Bros., you know, Nintendo saw that, because those are two of their biggest franchises, and once they saw that those weren't able to move a whole lot of units, they probably decided, like, okay, we're not going to get too much out of the Wii U, so naturally they moved these projects over to their next system, the NX. And like I've said before, these systems don't come out of nowhere, so the NX has more than likely started development all the way back in 2013, because Nintendo themselves said that once they release a system, they almost immediately start working on the other system, its successor. So her saying that multiple unannounced Wii U projects were moved over to the NX, that doesn't surprise me very much, because it's definitely very plausible, because the NX has more than likely been a thing, at least an idea, since early 2013. Now, this video is getting a bit long, so I'm going to wrap it up here, but the last thing I want to mention is, while It's great that Nintendo's is planning to really push first-party software. I really have to wonder how this is going to work out with third-party software. Can Nintendo's first-party games survive alongside big third-party releases? Is there going to be a clash? Because like I said in the past, PlayStation and Xbox have their first-party exclusives, but they tend not to compete with big third-party releases. They tend to be very far away from any major third-party releases. Not to mention the fact that third parties have solid, dedicated fan bases on those platforms. They don't have that on Nintendo platforms. So even if Nintendo is trying to reach out to third-party companies with the NX, my point is, are they going to be able to coexist? That's what I wonder. After having spent so many years just relying on Nintendo's first-party software, are the people who buy the NX, well knowing that Nintendo hasn't had a good history with third-party companies, even if that relationship has now been improved, are they going to be able to coexist properly? Really looking forward to see how this is going to turn out. All I can say is E3, this year's E3, mark my words, is going to be the biggest event in gaming history in a long time. There's just so many things happening at once, not just Nintendo, but Microsoft and Sony as well. There are just so many damn things happening at once. This E3, I don't know. All I can say is, be ready. Be ready, guys. Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next one.